Start the countdown. 3, 2, 1. The Drew Yari Show begins now.
Turn it up.
You're listening to The Drew Yari Show.
That's the wine and diner with kings and queens.
You're looking at the man.
You're listening to The Drew Yari Show.
Hey, what's going on, guys? We have Kevin Castle on the show yet again today. Due to tech issues from last night's show, if you listen to the live feed on Spreaker, if you're in the Discord chat room, you were able to hear it. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances beyond my control, that particular episode, you won't hear. So Mr. Kevin Castle was nice enough to come back on and give an hour of his time, hour and a half perhaps of his time, and to just do what we did last night, shoot the shit. Maybe not particularly on wrestling, just life, pop culture, what have you. So appreciate you for coming back on, Kev.
Oh yeah, no problem, man. For you, no problem at all. For others, fuck them. But for you, absolutely.
Hey, I love to hear that. What's going on with you, man? I heard. How's Amy doing, by the way?
Yeah, just it's a rough morning. Just one of those rough keeping food down mornings. She has kidney issues, kidney disease or onset kidney disease. I mean, I don't know if it's going to get better or worse. I mean, I'm doing what they told me to do, but she just goes through these bouts that she gets like nausea and vomiting, and sometimes it continues, and it's it's like taking care of a little kid. It's like you done, you finished. Like I have a mat that I put her on so she can doesn't get all over the place. I see her kind of like almost like a teapot boiling on, and I could tell her face. I even look in her face. I'm like, oh, I see it. Pick her up, put her on the mat, and let her get it all out of her system, and then clean it up. And then I can tell. Like I said, it's almost like when you have cats, and when you have a pet, it's almost like having a kid, and you can tell when they're not feeling well or when something's coming. Like, oh, I see that look in her face, and I feel bad, because it's just it's just been, again, to put it on the year 2020, it's just been one of those years. It's just, it seemed to, unfortunately, affect even my cat. And nothing to do with COVID for her. But, again, she just, out of the blue, just got sick. And this has been going on since August. So everybody knows. And it's been this way for a few months. And, they were hoping she got better. But it looks like, this just might be what the situation is with her. I mean, I didn't change any food. She didn't, it's just something, she's 10 and it could be with age. It could be genetic, just like cats are like, people, if there's cancer or kidney disease or diabetes or stuff in your family, it could trickle down to pets. I don't know if people know that. I didn't really know that. I didn't really get educated on that till a few years back. If you told me in the 80s or 90s, like a cat can even get diabetes or kidney disease, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. They're a living being. You know what I mean, Drew? They're a living being organism. They can get anything like a human can get for the most part. And you're talking about something that weighs, 12, 14 pounds. So if they get a bad bout of something, it could be devastating to their little bodies. So, again, it's just like one of those things. It's like, put another X, or not a check mark. A check mark seems like something that's you've done well and positive and you moved on. Put another X, on the checklist of bullshit and unfortunate things that have gone on this year. And the year's not over. I was joking with a friend earlier, who I was. It was funny. He called me to get a pep talk, which I thought was funny. I'm like, I'll do my best. I said, but I have my own things to bitch about. But in all seriousness, I mean, not to even make a chuckle because it was kind of a serious conversation, But we always have lighthearted moments, people who know me, where we end up laughing, even though it's something might not even be funny. She had a son who attempted to commit suicide, who's 20 years old, who I know since he's a baby because I go back with her in the business a long time. She got out of the business, club business, and moved to another area of the States and went down south, so to speak, and loving it there. But her son didn't acclimate there and got into some problems there. Met a girl, dated the wrong kind of girl, and became so despondent. And I forget how it is for young people. You talk about life once, and you're still a relatively young guy yourself, but this guy's kid to me is 20 years old. I met somebody and she broke up with him, and he just went into such a depression and such a despair and so bad that he made several suicide attempts. And I'm just like, wow. I mean, I've never, been so, I've been in love with people, and I miss my ex, and I miss certain things about my life with people that I blew it, so to speak, with, and, might have been the cause of a breakup and lived to regret it. But I never wanted to commit suicide over it. I don't think I've ever been, I don't know if that's even fair to say, so in love that I want to kill myself when I lost that person. So everyone's different. Everyone's got a different constitution. I understand that. I've been despondent. I've felt that kind of depression over other things, over the loss of my father, over the loss of my career. I felt despondent. There's been times I had those crazy thoughts in my head, and I quickly picked up the phone and I called a friend who made me remember I had worth and value and stuff. It's always good that you have friends that you can call, real friends that really care about you. So that's what she called me, and even asked, what do you think I should do? She's a single mom. She doesn't have he has a dad, but they're estranged, him and his wife. She never remarried or anything, so she's around my age. And and her son always liked me and stuff, so she even asked me if I could talk to him and maybe I could say something. And I realized what a kind of important phone call that's going to be. I'm going to call him tomorrow, and give him a call and see what I could say or do and stuff. I really got to kind of prepare for that one. Even though sometimes my best stuff, even when I go on shows, is when I don't overly prepare. Like when I just make a call cold and I just get it done and I call and I don't get all psych myself up. This everything I say, everything I do has to be important or has to be on point. So I'd even asked for a day because I wanted to think about what I was going to say to him. And I was like, can I call tomorrow? And yeah, tomorrow's perfect. Actually, tomorrow will be great. So I was like, oh, good, because I can think about tonight what I'm going to say. But I even said to myself, you know what, don't even overthink it. Just call him up and talk to him and hear him out, and then just give him advice based on what he tells you. You know what I mean? Like, don't overly prepare for stuff. And then you'll have a real heart-to-heart. Because I don't know what he's going to say to me, but I know him, again, since he's a baby. I knew him before he was born. I knew him when she was pregnant with this kid. And she had only moved away about maybe 6 years ago. And we saw each other here and there, like back in the day, like fool around kind of shit, like when she was single and I was single. But again, that's something when someone calls you up and feels so lost that like you're the pick of like, can you talk to my son? Like, I just don't know. No one's getting through to him. I worry I'm going to lose him. And so, I'm not a professional or anything, but you take that as very, almost as such an honor that someone thinks so highly of you. So that's why when I know other people don't think so highly of me, I'm like, wow, have you ever been, Richard Lewis, and again, lighthearted moment, Richard Lewis on Curb Your Enthusiasm one time said to Larry David, have you ever been someone's suicide call? I don't know if you ever saw that episode where Larry David goes, what, they call you if they're going to kill themselves or want to hurt themselves and you talk them down, you? And they made like a joke out of it. I've never been a suicide call. And I even told I told my friend, I don't want to say her name on the air, but I told my friend, I said, wow, if you caught me the other day, you would have never chose me as that call. But again, I'm a typical Gemini. I get upset, but then I calm down. And, hearing about other people's problems sometimes makes you forget about yours. And then you realize like how we're all, it's a cliche thing to say, we're all in the same, we're all in this together to a degree. There's people who separate themselves and say, "Oh, it's all about me. It's all about my family, my friends." But it's all, if you're a decent person and you know someone who's hurting, and you're just like, not my problem. Let someone else pick up the phone and call that person. Again, don't complain or don't, mourn the loss when you know you could have did something. And I talked about it last night. And now, of course, we're re-recording and that got lost, but I'll say it again here, is that you can't apologize to a dead person. You could talk into the sky and say a prayer and stuff. And it's not even believing in God or not believing in God, but treating somebody good while they're still here, or doing something where you say, at least God forbid something happened to that kid. I'd be like, I called, I tried, I tried. I really did. My friend asked me to do something. I did it. And if I wasn't able to do the trick, I know I tried. To not try or make like, oh yeah, I'm kind of busy. Yeah, I'll try and give him a call. I would never do that, because then, God forbid, I hear something happen. I didn't make that call. That's a lot to put on you. Some people can blow it off like, whoa, it's not my fault, not my problem. I don't feel that way. I feel when someone asks me to do something, or I hear something that's kind of, very sensitive subject, I'll stay on it. I'll look into it. I'll make sure everything okay. Call the next day, write, make sure. Because I just don't want that bad karma on my conscience. Because Lord knows, can you imagine reaching out to somebody and telling somebody something like that, and then the person is pretending they understand, but really they're being dismissive, and then they don't even follow through on trying to help? That would be terrible. So, and as you get older, you learn how, again, with certain friends who passed away through this thing, especially my friend Jim, who was the most helpful. Oh my God. Talk about a guy who, you can call, and I told a story about a week ago on my podcast, Castle Chronicles, that he called me during COVID, especially in the beginning. And while he was asking me how I'm doing, and even as recent as a month ago, he's like, "Hey, Big Kev, how you doing?" I was like, just want to see what's the latest, what's going on with you, how you feeling, how you doing. And I'll hear, and I told the story. I said, I hear noises in the background. I hear like an intercom. I said, "Where are you?" He goes, "Oh, I'm in the hospital." And I was like, "You're in the you visiting somebody?" He goes, "No, I'm admitted. I'm in the hospital." I said, What's wrong with you?" And he goes, "Oh no, don't worry about me. I'm asking about you. I'll tell you about me after." And I just shook my head and I go, you know what I'm saying? There's people who exist like that, and you just are like, well, it's probably the conversation be directed while you're in the hospital, not how I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? So again, I'm like, well, clearly you're not doing too well if you're in the hospital. And we laughed, and he goes, "Don't worry about me. Don't worry about me." He goes, "Just tell me the latest. And, what's going on? Any gossip, anything going on in the club business?" And I just, again, shook my head, and I'm like, this guy is one of a kind. He really was. So that's why it's a real loss. Because other people I've talked about who've died over the years, they weren't as close of friends. This guy was a real close friend, and who I know since I got to Queens and started working in Queens in 1993. One of the first people I met when I went to Castle Heights. He was so friendly. And I was wearing an Alice in Chains shirt when he met me. He's like, "I love Alice in Chains." And Alice in Chains was kind of not brand new, but new in the, they were like the it band at that time in 93. And that's how we bonded. And then he was telling me how much he liked commercial rock and glam rock bands, Cinderella, Motley Crue, Rat, Poison. I was like, yeah, I'm into it. And it was kind of out of style at that point in 93. Grunge music was in at that point. Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Screaming Trees, Candlebox, stuff like that. And we just bonded, and we were friends up until the day he died. So that was a real loss, and it was not COVID related, by the way. I just, so if anybody's like, "Oh, COVID," I'm like, no, it wasn't COVID related. He had a kidney transplant not that long ago. He had diabetes his whole life, and he had a kidney transplant a few years back. It didn't take, and there was complications from organ transplant, and he had gotten toxic shock syndrome at one point, which Mike Von Erich had gotten in the 80s. First time I heard of that, where your body poisons itself, and it's got to be rid of the poisons, and you're in the hospital for an incredible amount of time, and you're never quite the same after that. It's almost as if you had some sort of stroke when you get out. Slurred voice, a little bit off. Eyes aren't exactly even keel. It's a little. It looks like you had the end results of a stroke. Sometimes to heal 100% from toxic shock syndrome is difficult. And again, he was constantly on dialysis, and finally, just he gave way. They found him. He passed away in his sleep, and his girlfriend at the time, he's divorced. He had a wife and stepchildren. He didn't have any children of his own, but she found him like that because I finally got the story, and I finally got to talk to her after backing off for a week because I knew this guy's incredibly popular. I mean, if you go to his Facebook page, you scroll down and down and down and down. It's endless, the comments, endless. I mean, it's probably the most popular person I know who's passed away during this whole thing. Just the social media was just like, I had to scroll like 90 pages to get to even what I wrote like an hour earlier. You know what I mean? That kind of popularity. But anyway, like I said, just I know we're going to talk about life and stuff today, but that's what's going on. So yeah, I got to make a very important call tomorrow and talk to a young guy, 20 years old, who was having a real tough time. And it wasn't, the one thing I'll say is like scary, not like, attempts, like fake attempts where, he really didn't do anything to himself. I mean, this kid really tried to hurt himself, did some pretty heinous shit to his own body, and over a girl. And my friend was even asking me, she's like back in our day, did we get so despondent over like, how many boyfriends did I have? How many girlfriends did you have back in the day? Like, did you ever get, to get so, I mean, when you were literally walking around like the living dead for months. And I was like, no, I said, I think it's just I mean, listen, that happens every day. I mean, you could tell me, you chime in at your show and I'm taking up all the time here, but you could tell me from your generation, did you have any friends or even yourself that experience? I know you're with, you have a girlfriend now. Thank God, everything's probably good. I'm hoping everything's good. But in the past, or as a young person, or your first girlfriend, or did you have any friends who even committed suicide or attempted it over a lost relationship? Do you know anybody like that?
Personally, I don't. I mean, I've had friends that in the past, and some currently. I'm not going to name names, obviously, that dealt with bouts of depression and got to that point of harming themselves. And it was, I don't want to say fortunately or unfortunately, but it wasn't over a girl or a guy. It was more over just more personal, deep-rooted issues. I have friends that, as when they were kids, they were abused. They were sexually abused. They were physically abused, verbally, emotionally. And, even, going into adulthood in their 20s, they were still dealing with it. They were still going through bouts of depression because the thing about depression is that depression isn't just like a coat that you can take off and put it away when you're done with it. It's something that kind of stays with you. I mean, you can get help. You can help it, kind of subside. But it's not exactly something that can just go away with like medicine like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I totally know what you mean.
Like I mentioned on the show last night that, I deal with depression. I deal with it in my own ways, and the best way I've heard someone describe depression is that, the things that usually give your life meaning and happiness, it just feels like they're not doing anything for you, like out of nowhere. Like you can be happy, and then the very next day, it just seems like everything else that makes you happy, people that make you happy, just aren't working. They don't really mean much because it's an internal struggle. Because you think everybody hates you, like you think everybody hates you, and you hate yourself even more, and it's just you get low. You get real low. Like the lowest I felt, I felt like I was at the bottom of the pool, and I had, 2 cinder blocks tied to my feet, and there was no way I could, get back to the top of the pool. Like that's how bad it was for me. Again, not comparing, but it's just, everybody deals with depression in their own ways, and it sucks because you just want to be happy. You just want to have one of those days where you're like, what, I'm in a good mood. I'm not going to let anything fuck with me. And then it happens. So, the best way to deal with it is just talk to somebody.
Who did you find like was that person for you?
Well, my girl.
That's good.
I'm getting a little emotional talking about it, so bear with me.
Ah,
We had a random talk in the car and just telling her about my family, and just me and my family aren't exactly that close. I mean, we have a better relationship now. I was telling you about my dad. Me and my mom are a little bit better now. Me and my brother have a better relationship than we ever did, but we're still not that close. And it's a touchy subject. So my girl, I can tell everything to, but there's sometimes where there's sometimes I don't want to tell her certain things because I don't want to worry her. You know what I mean? And, there's other people that I'll talk to, but sometimes I just kind of want to deal with things on my own. And, and through, whether it be, through the show, which is therapeutic, listening to music, working out or playing a video game. All that helps, takes my mind off of it.
You gotta find something that you connect with and that can give you that escapism. And it's funny, when it plays into these shows, some people say that these podcasts and these kind of outlets for people are that therapy, or that have that therapeutic value for them. As much as anything else. I can't even tell you the countless, again, me and my co-host or former co-host or still, still doing the Patreon together, DT, has said the same thing. We agree on certain things, and as much as we like our frickin' frack on certain things and back and forth, one thing we agree on is what these shows mean to people. And that's the connection I think we've always had, and I think we always will. Is we would say, we get these letters of people who, this is part of their thing, like their day or their daily routine that gets them through things. And it's important. And I know it means a lot to him. It means a lot to me. I think it means a lot to Mish. And I think it means a lot to my brother and Joe. And I think I can speak for everybody in that aspect of that. We realize what these things mean to people. People take it almost, like you can't take that. That's why, when certain shows are there, they're not there, people freak out almost because it's like, you don't understand this. These shows help me. I mean, people have written me that about not only just DTKC, but even the other shows, that they listen to, and like, here's part of my daily day. I listen to this, and this. Then I feel good, and then I can get my days. I can do these things that I have to do that I'm not so crazy about having to do. I'm like, wow, okay. And, you take it as like, well, we're just a show. We're just a wrestling show. We just talk silliness, or some of we talk serious, but sometimes it would just, dopey wrestling, as we say, dopey talk. But it means so much to people that, I've gotten emails and from people who've just said, and sometimes I'll click on the email and I'll see like this tremendous stuff that's been written. And, before I kind of look at it like a little squinty, and I'm like, oh shit, there's a lot of stuff. Like, what is this? You don't even know if it's a complaint or they have something not so nice to say. But then what they're telling you usually when they have 3-4 paragraphs is a story about themselves and how the show helps them and what this means to them, or they miss a certain show that might not be there anymore, or they like a new thing that you're doing, or just anything, just to kind of, some people even say, to hear your voice soothes me, or, I mean, you take it, some people might take it, oh, really, but it's, you'd be surprised. I mean, people really connect to their podcast, like they connect to watching a TV show, So again, I think we can never overlook that therapeutic value that podcasts have. And listen, none of us are professionals. We're not psychiatrists or psychologists, or even if we, went to college or school or majored in something, none of us have a license on the wall of, therapist or whatever. But I think it's just life experience. I mean, half the people who always have complimented me for getting them through something would just say, because you're an older guy and you seem like just a guy I know, like you remind me of my uncle or my brother, or kind of the way you talk and the way you carry yourself. I just know that you're the guy to ask this question to. And so I take it as, very complimentary. It's great to be valued for your wrestling knowledge. And, wow, so much. I never met anybody who knew that much about Florida wrestling. but there's even more praise when someone says, "Dude, you get me through the day." It's such a a compliment, and I would show my mom, say, "See, Mom, this is not the some dopey little thing I do. It's important to people." Like as a joke, I'd say, "See, Mom, this guy thinks I'm important." So, it's again, it's as therapeutic to me as anybody else. You read some of that stuff because we all get kind of down, and even before I started the show, I was bitching about certain things. Because it just seems like every day some bullshit, and a true story, 100% true, hand to God. My cell phone got shut off like a couple of weeks ago. I haven't turned it back on. I'm on laptop and landline right now. L&L, if you need to reach me, laptop, landline. So I got my laptop. I'm not doing anything through my cell. My cell's off. So that means, and that was a number that all the bands who got booked called me at and stuff. There's no business right now. So it wasn't even like, oh, I'm saving $30 a month. Yeah, that too. But, I just didn't even miss it. I didn't want my phone there and stuff. Even when I went out with my friend James to the grocery store the other day, he's like, "You don't have your phone?" I'm like, "No, my phone's off, dude." He goes, "Yeah, I tried. I texted you a bunch of times. You never got back to me." I'm like, "No, my phone's off." I said, "You can reach me on Facebook, chat, Twitter, Messenger, and you can reach me on my landline. My phone line that my close friends and family have is always on my land. That's why I kept the landline. But my cell's turned off, and I don't care if I get it turned on anytime soon. I don't even miss it. It's like the people really want to reach me. There is ways to reach me, and that's fine. I just tired of looking at my phone being out and going to Facebook, getting indications from Facebook. I'm like, oh, what did somebody say now? It's like I'm tired of it. I don't want to see it anymore. And I said, my close friend, you have my landline number, and a bunch of people maybe listening here do. I think Sean's got it, and all the other guys have it. Anthony and Mish and my brother, everyone. Anyone who needs to really reach me has it. And I always answer my mail anyway. You were Facebook Messenger. I'm not one of those guys, oh, I haven't been on Facebook Messenger in days. I check my messages several times a day. But my cell, as far as like texting me on my cell, my 347 number, it's off. It's been off. I'll turn it back on. Whatever. My landlord texted me. She says, "Oh, did you get my message about the backyard?" I was like, "No, turn my cell phone off." And she's like, "Oh," like looked at me like that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. You know what I mean? And I just said, "No." Her name's Jolo. I said, "Jolo, I have my house phone." "Oh, okay. I can call you on that." I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "I wouldn't have. No phone in general. That's crazy. Of course I have another outlet." But again, I didn't miss it because it was like the gossip line, that thing. "Oh, did you hear that?" I'm like, I don't want to, give me good news. I'm waiting for good news. I mean, I've had enough bad news. Thanksgiving is next week, and you would hope something comes up. And listen, we're not getting even good news from our politicians or from the news wire or whatever. Every time you log on, setback in this, or, Donald Trump, there might be civil war in January. It's like, just all these flamethrowers and fear mongers, and the election's over. We have a new president. Let's move on already. Nothing's going to happen. It's all a bunch of bluster and talk and bullshit that goes on. It's posturing. I've dealt with a lot of people who posture in my business and make empty threats and just want to hear themselves talk, And it's so funny because I can even say now, it's like I was never a big Trump fan, and it seemed like I was always not defending him, but I was always going after Biden. But the truth of the matter is, and I said this on Chronicles maybe 2 weeks ago, I said this on this special election show we did with Anthony and Mish, which I thought was very good. Great show, and got a lot of praise on that show. Everybody did a great job. TT, Mish, myself, it was a fantastic show. Didn't even, no preparation, just go in there, give your opinion on what's going on. And I thought it was one of the best shows. And where everyone's like, yeah, Kev, I don't know, I followed you on Twitter, Kev. It seemed like you were really anti-Biden, pro-Trump. I was like, no, I was never pro-Trump. I was anti-Biden because I felt that there's too many people dogpiling on Trump. There was nothing more that I could add. Everyone had that covered. Going after Trump, check. It was covered already. Hundreds and thousands of people were doing it, from celebrities to other wrestling podcasters. I went the other way. Everyone made a fucking left. I made a right. Or if you want to say made a right, make a left. And said, well, wait a second. Let's not give this guy a pass, and let's not overlook his inadequacies and flubs and he's not getting a pass. So that's why I stayed on him. And it's funny, I might have lost a follower or two because they thought I was something that I wasn't, and we're not getting the fact of everyone could be under scrutiny. Everyone, just like in podcasting, this guy does this guy does this guy does that. Everybody in podcasting fucks up. Everybody has said something that, thank God for the power of editing, that they can go back and change. Every person I've worked with in podcasting, me, my brother, Anthony, Mish, Joe, JD, Conrad, everybody I've ever heard has had an episode where they said something where you just like, what? Like, just something so crazy that they were just feeling that day or whatever, but it shouldn't define who they are overall as a person or a human being or a podcaster. Everybody has their days. But I think when you're president of the United States, you can't have too many of those bad days. You know what I mean? That's a job where you got to be on point much more than the average bear or the average person. So, Donald Trump, but he was reeling everybody in. Donald Trump is almost like a carny. You know what I mean? He's almost like he's a flim-flam man. And that's why he generated great with Vince McMahon and into the world of pro wrestling. That's why I'm surprised more people didn't like him in the world of pro wrestling. He was born for it and made for it. But Joe Biden is like, and again, like Kamala Harris and Kamala, I don't say her name wrong to be disrespectful. I just sometimes forget. I know it's not pronounced Kamala. And people can't forget, because I have friends in California in the club business, and I have friends who deal weed and drugs, and I know of over the years because again, I'm in the band industry, and I know there's a lot of straight edge, but there's a lot of people who take drugs, recreational or otherwise. So I knew of her reputation of giving people 10-year sentences for dealing weed. So she was quite a person that had a lot of scorn in certain scenes and industries and communities, because and now she's pro, she's again flip-flopper, typical politician. But years ago, she incarcerated people for crimes that should have been a death ticket. You know what I mean? It should have been probation, and got long sentence, dealing pot, 10-year sentence in many cases. Like, well, you gotta be kidding me. Selling marijuana, 10 years, So again, I wanted people to see who some of these people were, and that if they didn't know, and everyone thought it was going to be good times. Joe Biden's crime bill history is terrible, and I'm a guy, by the way, and something I want to get more involved in. And listen, I have a voice to a degree, but very minuscule compared to anybody else. I mean, I'll say I'm just a wrestling podcaster, and even if I do a pop culture thing down the road in a new format and stuff, everyone will always associate me with a wrestling podcast, and as they should. I mean, that's what I am, but for the most part. But obviously, I'm a human being and an older man, and upper middle age at this point, and I should have some more things to say other than telling you that Chris Adams had the original super kick before Shawn Michaels. You know what I mean? So, and the crime bill, I'm very pro. One thing about Kim Kardashian, and who I've always given a hard time to, and I gave her props, is that she's really dedicated to that crime bill reform. There's way too many people in jail. And I don't get to talk about this on too many podcasts, but something I'm really interested in whatever I can do, even in the minuscule way, my small voice in that big sea of voices. The crime bill reform has got to be something that they have to take a look at, especially for people of color, the African American. That's why people think I'm a staunch Republican. I'm like, here you're hearing a big liberal side of me right now. There's too many people doing way too much time incarcerated in prison for crimes that they should have been out a long time ago. Ridiculous sentences, especially, for African Americans and Latinos and people of color. White people too, especially down south, who are just dealing pot out of their car and are doing 7-8 years in a hard time in very dangerous prisons. It's crazy. I mean, just for that kind of recreational drug sales. And then listen, it's changing. Marijuana laws are changing over the country in certain states and cities. They're allowing it now. It's becoming legalized. But it's got to be across the boards. You know what I mean? Because that's great if it's legal in one state, and in another state there's a guy doing 15 years for selling weed. Do you understand what I'm saying, Drew? So
Right.
You know, that to me, and you hear these stories, and I really have tuned into these people and these women and men and guys, and you could tell that they're not violent. And I'm not talking, this is for non-violent offenders. It's not for people who were raped or committed arson or murder or attempted murder or brutal assault. I'm talking for non-violent offenders to be doing 10-year stretches. It's outrageous. You know, I mean, it's really, and again, you would clear the prison systems and you can't, you never get reformed in jail. I know enough people who've done time. My friend Stephen Rizzi, who, my God, one of the most hard guys you've ever met in your life. I mean, you cross him. Let me put it this way. What goes on in our little community, if someone said something or dissed him on a chat or what, he would find the person and literally murder them and put it on YouTube. I mean, dangerous person. And, no joke. He would actually have a knife to his face. Again, say what you said. Type in what you said about me. Dangerous people. I mean, that's why I laugh and I'm like, you know, some people don't even know the price that there are some people who will kill you over a diss on social media. You know, you've seen gangbangers do it to each other, but don't kid yourself. There are some crazy white boys out there who will track you down and find you. If you think you are untouchable, you are wrong. And then you'll be like all over Twitter. Yeah, you know, you disrespected me. They have it in their head that you tried to fucking clown them, and now you're gonna pay. And they'll be relentless about it. You will live the rule of the day. Trust me. I know some people who were victims of this. You know, I never made that mistake. I was always on his good side. But and I know him since I'm a kid. My father was his baseball coach, as a matter of fact. But he's doing time now. He's doing another like third time long stretch in prison. Probably get out when he's 65 for assault charge that he had, where he almost attempted murder. But my point being is that, and that's a friend of mine, but I'll say that he probably needs to be there. He has not learned his lesson yet. So that's not the guy that needs reform. He needs, but the reason he's never gotten better, I'll use an example of my friend Steve. The reason Steve's never gotten better, and he wouldn't even mind me saying this because it's true, and I've actually gotten to talk to him from jail over the years because I was a friend of his, and again, I would try and just tell him, and he was a talented musician too. It's kind of a shame that he didn't pursue that more. Good guitar player, just the thug life got to him, and his family was embedded in it too. But he would even tell you that I get worse as I'm incarcerated. I get worse. I get meaner. I get more, you know, when I'm let loose, almost like a wild animal. Because again, it's not that the guards are beating him 24/7 and getting sexually assaulted. No, if anything, he's got not an easy time in prison because he's a tough guy, but it's just locked down all those hours. The social interaction is very limited. And you keep someone in a cage and you expect them to get better. And that system of, you know, certain prisons have, you know, there's opportunities to get your GED and actually even get a college degree. You know, you can do certain things and better yourself and keep a clean head and a clean nose. But for the most part, it's you lose hope because you're in there for so long. You know, you lose hope. And you see all these people, you know, life is going by, and you know, your family visits you, and you hear all this good news going on. You realize, wow, I fucked up my whole life, and then you feel hopeless, and then you feel resentful, and you can say, "Well, don't do the crime if you can't do the time." Yeah, all these catchphrases are great and everything, but the point of the matter is, you know, they have to do a better job at trying to help these people get back into society. And as far as the nonviolent offenders go, I always thought that there should be, and listen, there can't be, there should be, and there's different blocks, C block, A block, B block, D block, for different prisoners of different, I don't know if you know a lot about the law to a degree, and I don't know if you know about the prison system. I don't know how it is in Texas, but obviously they have different offenders get put with different people. Obviously, a lot of times they'll put the child molesters or the sexual offenders in certain, because other prisons will try to hurt them or kill them or whatever, because you score points in prison when you go after people who rape the girl or sexual assaulters. They try and put all these people in different, you know, kind of areas so they'll fit in. But Drew, you know, would you really feel comfortable, you know, being in the killer block? You know what I'm saying? Would you ever really feel like getting a good night's sleep?
I always, you were the killer. I was going to say, like, in prison, I think, like, okay, if you're a killer, if you killed somebody, you killed like 5 people, yes, they need to be put in Supermax. That's the harshest place possible. If it's like tax evasion, and that's still a crime, they shouldn't be in the same block with somebody who stabbed their uncle.
Of course not. Yeah. Matter of fact, I'll cut you off. I'll put those crimes too, the white collar crimes, like minuscule, like certain tax, like if you have a corporation and millions in taxes, but I'm talking about someone who's like a basic citizen, that's bullshit too. You have to give restitution, pay it back, it's fine. But to be incarcerated over taxes, $50,000 to the IRS, that's ridiculous. Because it costs $150,000 a year to incarcerate you. I don't know if you knew that. On average,
yeah.
$150,000 a year. So it's a completely fruitless effort. Makes no sense to put Joe Average into, again, come on, that's a petty white collar crime. Only if you're Bernie Madoff do I believe you should get sentences like that, but not some guy who owes like $62,000. Like come on, what is that? Are you kidding me? Someone's life has to end or put them incarcerated where they can get stabbed or murdered by a predator over that. I mean, but that's typical government. It's take care of your citizens. Instead, you want to basically terrify them into submission. And again, if you're a person who's down and out, don't have anything, don't make the situation worse. It all depends. Those white collar criminals who are heads of boards of $1 million corporation stuff, absolutely. And the funny thing is, Drew, the funny thing is, those types, like the Wolf of Wall Street guy, I'm sure you saw the movie Wolf of Wall Street, right?
Mm-hmm.
That guy went to basically a country club. He was playing tennis. That was no joke. His second day incarcerated, he joined the tennis team. I mean, and a guy who maybe owes $100,000 or who's like a bullshit white collar criminal who had maybe a small business that he didn't pay his property tax on. That guy's going to fucking regular fucking prison with hardened criminals. I mean, what's going on here? So even the wealth in theft benefits an upper 1% rich person. Not even, you don't have to be in the 1%. You could be in the 20%. And if you have enough money, like you really think, say, George Clooney or Brad Pitt went to prison, just say, they committed a brutal assault on tape. There's no denying it. They have to send a message and send them to jail for 1-2 years. That they're going to be amongst regular prisoners? No fucking way. You know what I'm saying? No fucking way. Because people can go, Robert Downey, when he was around. First of all, Robert Downey's stint was 25 years ago. But Robert Downey committed those crimes today, Drew, he'd be in a country club prison. You know what I'm saying? Today, the Robert Downey of today, the Robert Downey in the 1990s, who's kind of like a bit player and, fuck up, constantly. It's a different story now.
I don't mean to cut you off, but in his case, he ran into a judge that didn't give a shit that he was famous. So the judge, gave him the max sentence. But it was a long time ago. Right. It could still happen. I'm not trying to disagree with you or say you're wrong or anything, but I'm just saying.
No. I'm not even, you can have your opinion, but I'm just saying that times change.
I kind of go back to, there was actually a story that was on DTKC, involving Kurt Angle, where Kurt Angle, when he was in TNA, was just constantly getting, being in the headlines, getting DUIs and I remember, DT, actually predicted it, give credit where credit is due. He said, one of these days he's going to run into a judge that doesn't care if he's famous. And what happened? He ran into a judge that didn't care that he was famous.
I remember that. Yeah.
It could happen. It definitely could happen. It has happened before, and it can happen because, lawyers can pay off judges. Lawyers can do A, B, C, and D as long as you have the right money. But yeah, there's going to be that one judge that's like, I don't give a fuck who this is. He broke the law. This is actually his 5th time being in court. Like, why do I need to give him an easy sentence?
Right.
So, yeah, it just.
It depends on the judge and
right.
And who everything depends on everything. Everything depends on everything. Even what I have to do tomorrow, the phone call I have to make. How is this kid? What's his mood gonna be? Right? Like, it was, Kev, I'm so glad to hear from you. Or, yeah, my mom told you to call me. I really don't want to talk to anybody right now, but thanks for trying. It could be that. I don't know. So everything depends on everything. I'm going through a situation now, even where I got to talk to a club owner like later today, and it's going to be a real uncomfortable conversation because it's something that's bothering a lot of us who, not to give too much away, but there's a situation that came up that rubbed everybody the wrong way. I mean, this club is closed now forever. It's gone. But there's something that was not right about something that took place with it. That ownership is we're all what about this situation? And it feel like it's getting swept on the rug. And I got voted by everyone by proxy of the fact that I'm probably the best talker. I always love that. And even some people say that sarcastically. You're the best talker, so you call her or you call him. And I'm like, yeah, but if I could be the best talker about who's going to get to this person the best, who's this person going to connect to, bond with the best, and like, I think you're the guy to call, make the call. And I was kind of like the second in command at this particular place, but I kind of gave up on it a while ago. Even though I was there to the end to a degree, I stopped even going to the place because that was my protest basically of how I felt we were being mistreated and underpaid and not given what we were supposed to get. People took pay cuts a while ago and it never got back up to level that we were supposed to get it. Just so to not smoke and mirrors the whole thing. Long story short, all clubs put up GoFundMe pages, and it was the club would post it, and it was just a given that clubs would take that money and pay some bills or put it towards bills, but the rest, 50%, would be divided amongst staffers who were laid off and stuff. And this club never did that. No one from the staff ever got a dime from it. And it's bothered everybody for a long time. The page is posted. It's gone now. But the page was posted up back in April, and it generated a certain amount of money. Not a ton of money. But nobody, not me, not the door guy, sound guy, all the guys who helped build that place from day one, built that foundation, walked out of that club with nothing. Not even things where people said, hope this helps, divvy it up amongst the boys or whatever. And people wrote notes like that. And I'm like, that never went to that. And I got to take an owner to task at some point, and I've been putting off the call because, what I tell my fellow staffers is like, the club is gone now. It went into bankruptcy, and it's basically just going to be me calling and giving him an earful and him crying poverty or something. And people are like, I don't care, that's got to be, that there's something's got to be said about that to let him know that we know that the wrong thing was done by us. So in the future, if he opens up a new establishment and thinks we're going back, this is something that really fucking was done wrong by us. And the only reason people didn't go public, or even I didn't, or go on to it, because we wanted to have a direct conversation, because we're trying to be adults about it. Other people go and post their little stupid things to get props, or they'll talk about, what men they are. Meanwhile, they don't even make a phone call. They have the person's number, call the person, talk to the person directly, and then see. And then if you want to make a little, what's the word I'm looking for, snarky post about some situation, at least look into it like an adult and like a man, make a phone call, talk direct. If you don't get anywhere, then you feel that frustrated that you got to go online and make a cryptic tweet or a cryptic comment. I mean, I think all of us have been there, just trying to vent. But it's also going to be dangerous, too, because you don't want to be libelous and slander somebody in something that can become a legal matter. I think people don't think about that either when they do stupid things and post stupid things on Facebook. Those things can be screenshotted, and then you got a slander or an unjust post smearing someone's reputation or trying to hurt somebody, and then you wind up in fucking court. I know people that's happened to in the club business who've done that. So again, people don't think. You got to be street smart. I talked to you about this before, Drew. Remember the term street smart came up between me and you?
Right.
There's social media smart and street smart don't mix so well together. I've seen so many people post stuff that I shake my head and go, oh, that could come back to haunt you. What you posted there about this particular person. You have no evidence. That's an opinion, not a fact. And it's kind of slanderous. I mean, I've been on the receiving end of that myself. I've friends and family who've been on the receiving end of stuff like that. Not often, very rare. But when what happens to you, you'll be like, this motherfucker, like, who would post something like that? But so yeah, I told everyone, don't post anything, don't say anything. Let's see. I know what's going to happen like with this particular guy, like he's going to be like, I just had to close my business. You know what I mean, Drew? I used all that money to keep the place afloat and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, not for nothing. We heard that you didn't pay rent for 8 months. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we kind of know stuff that when he says it, we know already what the truth is. The place was closed. It was unoperational. The lights were out. What were you paying? There was no rent. The landlord waived your rent. There was no power on. So what was your Con Edison bill? 17 cents. There was no, you shut everything off. There was the power was turned off. Like what were you paying? Again, and then again, I can feel it. Like I'm gonna get, oh, you guys don't own a business. You don't even know what this. I'm like, I know already what's gonna happen. And I told people, thanks for putting me in this fucking thing. And listen, I have my own feelings. And listen, I'm broke as shit like everybody else, and probably even worse to a worse degree than everybody else to some level. But I also know a fruitless effort and a fucking doing something in vain when I can fucking smell it a mile away. So all I'm going to do is just get into an argument with this guy, and then I'll probably say some things, and he'll say some things, and and then he'll probably call all of us ingrates or something, and I'm like, ingrates? Like, you didn't do anything for us. You're the ingrate. Like, I already know how this is going to go. And I told you my problem with middle-aged Italian guys. That's never going to change.
Oh yeah, you love them.
I will never work for another middle-aged Italian guy ever again in any capacity. Will never be my boss. Never happen. Got an I or an O at the end of your name, I'm gone. I just do not get along with people of my own age group from my own ethnicity. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I don't know. People say, oh, it's like alpha male Italian thing. I'm like, no, they are looking out for themselves and not considering your plight whatsoever. And it's all about them. And they are not giving you an inch to saying, hey, it's about all of us. The best thing anybody can tell me when you're having a dispute is, look, man, we both should agree we want everyone to be okay, right? And then I'll say, yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel, that we're all okay. Not that you're better than this, or it's about your family, not your mom's more important than my mom, my sister's more important. It's about how can we all be all right? And that's we're going to have a great conversation if that's your mentality and my mentality, that let's try and make it where none of us get hurt or get hurt as little as possible. And we figure out what's not only fair, but what's humane. Let's be humanitarians about this. Let's, not be like, oh, fuck everybody else, so about my people. You're never going to get anywhere like that. Because as soon as you say, I only care about my family, the conversation's over, because you just basically said you don't care about me and you don't care about the other staff people. We're now getting into enemy territory, and you started it because you said you don't care about us. If you don't care about me, how can I care about you? You know what I mean? Can you imagine a friend that you're friends with for years go, we're friends, but I don't really actually care about you. It's such a, again, some people I think are so stunad, they don't even know what they're even saying. And they leak it out there. They're like, I already know your MO. Even people I don't like, I don't want them to be in any kind of harm's way. I don't want anybody. I never got off and went to bed at night go, oh, I really made that guy feel bad. I really I told that troll to go kill himself. I feel good about that. It's like anybody, that's kind of sick, to be honest with you. I think he's really, there's a lot of mental ill people walking amongst us who have never gotten the couch time they need. I think we all need couch time, Drew, but and I doubt, I don't know, I know you well, but not that well, obviously, but I would never think that you got off on hurting somebody where you thought it was funny, where you'd actually even go post about it and say, just told this guy off. He was probably crying. I'm like, wow, I didn't know Drew was a mean fuck like that. That would shock me. And I'm surprised that anybody else would post something like that and get likes on something where you're like, oh, so not only did you admit you're a bully, you admitted that you're like you told someone to kill themselves. Like, what are you, a psychotic? That's just a sick person. Again, I work in the most hard. It's so funny when people act like they're tough or whatever. I'm like, you work in my business, the dregs of society, where on average, I'm on the street at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, going to diners in New York City and walking around, doing carpools, dropping people off in the wee hours of the morning all over the city. I'm out there. I know what's going on. I mean, working in the club is, I've worked everything from hip hop shows to fucking, the most fucking dangerous hardcore shows you've ever seen. So I'm like, you think you know the pulse of people. I really know the pulse of people. I've had to talk to people that even going outside of the club, where I went outside with them in the alley or out front to calm them down, they could have killed me. I mean, literally could have stabbed me in my neck and murdered me. And I don't even know what I'm walking out there with. I'm just assuming, I'm a charming guy. I'm going to calm this situation down. I don't even think to say, John, not for nothing, if I don't come back, this guy probably killed me. I'm going to go out and calm this guy down. I'm going to go talk to him. And me and my John, who I always bring up, John the doorman, is one of my best friends, been with me 26 years in the business. He's security and door, and John's all banged up now too over the years. He would even say, you know how many times we went out by ourselves with escorting people out, or even trying to simmer people down, going to the back, and you would never even know what happened to us, because we thought we could handle things. And because we're dealing with some really, and then you're dealing with intoxicated people and people on drugs. And so again, I got the pulse of the streets. I don't think there's anybody in podcasting more street smart than me. I highly doubt it. I know what everybody does for a living, and not even close. God bless my brother. He's close to it, but he's not in the club business. It's much different. He's been an insurance guy for years now, so he's out of that scene. So I've seen the best and worst of people that you can think of. I've seen, my God, if I had a nickel for every threat that people have made in front of me or taken anything uber seriously, I think I always kind of know the pulse of when this guy's dangerous, this girl's dangerous, something's going to happen here. This person, I could see it in their eyes. Kind of like I was telling you with Amy before, and your kid, your cat, your dog, when they're not feeling well. I could just kind of tell when I'm dealing with somebody, I'm looking at them, if they're going to snap or there's something coming out from behind their back. You just get a sense of things like that. In social media, you can't tell the pulse of anybody because you really don't know people. You really don't know people. That's why I always laugh when someone says, it'd be like someone who maybe follows Drew Yari, and then you have a falling out, and this person goes online and says these things about Drew Yari. And I'm like, oh, you guys friends? And, saying some pretty personal stuff. You guys, no, I mean, we never met, we never talked, we never hung out or anything. I live in Alaska. He lives in Texas. I'm like, oh, so you really don't know, him social media wise. You don't know him in person. Well, yeah. I mean, I know I've talked to him. I've chatted with him for an hour sometimes. That's not knowing somebody. That you don't know anything. And also, let's be honest. Do you think people behave the same way, Drew, on social media that they behave in real life? If you behave the way you do on social media, you wouldn't have a job in real life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If, some of the things I've posted, I was afraid that people would see, even early days of DTKC, when we would talk about Sonny or we would talk about women in wrestling, and we said some, and listen, both of us did. We said some pervy, crazy comments back in the early days of the show, even before Minority Report. We said some crazy shit. And that's why I'm like, wow, that could come back to haunt me if I ever ran for office. And all of us would be guilty of that. Every single one of us. You can whitewash it and pretend it didn't happen. The fans know what we said over the years. Even I'll be honest with you, even me saying TNA fans kill yourselves. It's funny, and everyone thinks it's funny, but you get a social justice warrior, they'd be like, wow, that's not a funny tagline, kill yourselves. My brother killed himself. You know what I'm saying? If you take it that seriously, you know what I mean? So again, when people bring up my favorite thing that you've done over the years, when you say TNA fans kill yourself 10 years ago, I'm like, now at 52, I look back at that comment, I'm not that happy about that tagline. You know what I mean? Someone even told me I should put it on a shirt. And I was like, nah, were you crazy? Like TNA fans kill yourselves? Now, it's funny. I've never been, and like I said, no offense to Anthony or anything, and absolutely not a shot. But he knows. And he said, some stuff racially, and he got accused of certain things, and then had to kind of explain himself. Again, people can find anything wrong with something you're saying. Because, again, someone who might have someone in the family who killed themselves would say that's a very offensive. That's not a funny thing to say. You don't actually mean that, right? I'm like, no, of course I don't mean that. And I said that 10 years ago, and I was in my 40s. I wasn't a kid. But seeing it now at 52, it probably wasn't my favorite catchphrase.
Yeah, and as you get older, you realize, wow, I was kind of stupid when I was younger. It's like, and I know you don't get on Facebook that much, but
Oh, I'm on enough. I'm on enough.
Facebook has that thing of, memories, on this day you posted that you went to the store or something like that. And anytime I scroll all the way to 2010, 2011, 2012, I cringe. I'm like, what the hell am I talking about? Like, why am I so angry? Like, cause I made a lot of angry posts on, Facebook, and and I even look at it and I'm like, and I'll even like share the posts. I'm like, what was I angry about this time? Like, I didn't get it. Like, I still have a little bit of that anger, but I've learned, when it comes to social media, that shit's always going to stay on there. Even when you delete it, it's always going to be up there, because all it takes is for one person to screenshot it and, save it or whatever. But, I've learned to be smart because I have family on Facebook, so, Facebook I just use to like post pictures or memes or whatever. Twitter is what I use to really kind of speak my mind.
Yeah.
But it's just, you cringe. You cringe at how kind of dumb you were. Not you. I'm not calling you dumb.
I've been dumb. I've been dumb plenty of times. Trust me.
Yeah. I know I'm dumb. I'm still dumb. But like,
I'm still learning at my age. I still teach an old dog new tricks. You certainly can. I mean, I admit that I don't know everything, and we all, what you said, I cringe of things I wrote 2 weeks ago.
Right.
I feel, again, I know you don't have to believe in astrology or anything like that. And it's not that I am.
I do. I actually do. I take that shit
Okay.
seriously.
Well, I'm saying, anybody even listening to this, you can believe in it or not believe in it, but I'm very, like, if the Gemini thing of feeling two ways, or the twins are having this one side and this other side of you kind of doing battle, the tale of the two, the twin brothers, good. And I wouldn't say good and bad side, because I have a bad side of me, but I don't have an evil side of me. I've never been evil to anybody in my life. Been a dick, been wrong. Sure. Absolutely. Had to apologize for things. Sure. But evil? No, never been evil in my life. No one ever even believed that. Anyone who knows me, they'd laugh at that. Again, I'm much more of a help than a hindrance, and much more of a lift than a load than other people are. I mean, even again, like, to get a call from someone saying I needed to just get your word on something. Someone who's not even in my profession anymore, who's moved away 6-7 years ago. And a lot of friends she has, and shows me. So again, you take that. Wow, someone thinks highly. So you get down on yourself. You're like, well, there's people who guess still think of me in a good way because they know me. I mean, they've been, they've been in my home and sat next to me on a couch watching a movie and had intimate talks with me. And, those are people who really know you. Because you could always say people don't really know you. Even when someone does something, you see ex-boyfriends, girlfriends. I had no idea he was like this. We were with him for 10 years. He never revealed that side of himself to me. And some people are very good at Jekyll and hiding it, man. The old Jekyll and Hyde. And I'm getting back to the Gemini and astrology thing. My beast of burden has always been my stance on something. And it's not that I flip-flop like a politician. It's that I could see it differently hours later, if not within the same day. Even when I've had problems with other podcasters, or had falling outs or diversions, or things that were misunderstood, or certain other things that were kind of not exactly what it was, or one side, you have this side, you have that side of the story, where you get your venom out and you're mad and everything, but then you take a step back and you look at it like, okay, maybe I see from their point of view like why this was like this. At first, I was seeing such red that I didn't take a look at my own fault in this. And I've been through that with my own family, where I have a fight with my brother Draper. Any of my multiple brothers that I have, as you know, I have massive. I have like 14 brothers, so not really 14, but you know what I mean. I get into it with my brother Mike, and I'll go and reread the chat text of how we got off the rails and how we started cursing at each other and where it went wrong, and I'll believe that right, within the fight of itself, I'm right. He started it. He said this and that. Hours later, I'll go back, I'll scroll back on the text, and I'll say, oh, wait a minute, I said something. Oh, wait a minute, I kind of started it. This is what set it off. You know what I'm saying, Drew? Like, I said something that rubbed him the wrong way, and then I cursed at him, and he cursed, this was my fault. And I'll call my brother. I'll go, hey, man, even if he doesn't pick up, I'll leave him a voice message and say, hey, man, about what happened, earlier this afternoon. In hindsight, I was heated. I thought you took a shot at me with something, and I'm not realizing that you took offense to something I said before that. And I was so burning at the fucking keyboards to write back, I wasn't really looking at your last, sentence to me, and I didn't see that, and got off the rails there. I'm sorry on my part. I didn't mean to, flip out on you like that with all the exclamation points and cursing. And then he'll even say, yeah, dude, I'm over it already too, or whatever. I just thought it was just a dust up between us and we'll be cool in a day or two. And I'm like, well, you know what? We're cool now. And I'll do that with even people I work with in the scene, and people have done that with me. Anybody reaches out to me and just apologize. But I always kind of did notice that I was usually the reach out guy first with certain people, because everyone's like this pride thing. Even female friends that I have, my friend, me and Jay, might have an argument about something where, I'll be stern with her and she'll like, oh, this guy didn't call me. And I, start seeing some guy that I know from the scene. I'm like, listen, he's not a good guy. You're asking my advice. Don't pursue this. He's, the guy's still fucking married. Don't get involved with this man. I'm just saying hypothetically. And then she'll pursue it and then get fucked up over it. Call me. And then I'll get mad. I'm like, I told you, I gave you my advice. What are you, Stunad? Why are you calling me stupid? I'm like, because it's a stupid thing. You did a stupid thing. She goes, all right, you called me stupid like 3 times in this conversation. I'm like, because that's what it is. And then she'll hang up, and then I'm not talking to you anymore. You hurt my feelings, and blah, blah, blah. And, I called you for advice and you called me stupid. And that's just a good example of it. And I'll be like, no, I'm not backing off. I'm not apologizing. It was stupid. I gave her advice. She didn't do it. The guy is fucking married, and you got what you fucking deserve. I'm sorry. No, I'm not apologizing. Nope. I don't care. We don't talk for a couple of days. I'm fine with me. And then I'll see on social media, so depressed, so I don't have anybody to talk to, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I reach out, and I'll be like, hey, look, I won't call you. Call me up. I promise I won't insult you. I'll hear you out, but please just listen to me for once. Okay, I'll call you in 5, and then we'll talk. And I was like, you just kept calling me stupid. It pissed me off. I was like, yeah, I know, and I do that. Again, not the way to go, not the way to approach it. I said, but you understand why I was. Yeah, no, you were right. I should have listened. I made a mistake. And I was like, okay, and again, it's easy to rectify these situations. It's so funny when I hear people who don't talk to their family for years. Well, what happened? Well, at Thanksgiving, we had an argument about, was Reagan a better president than Bill Clinton? I'm like, and you don't talk to your brother anymore because of that? Well, he called me an asshole. So what? We curse each other. My family curses each other. My mother called me an asshole yesterday. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so what? So what? I say people are like, oh, he called behind my back. I'm like, well, no, we've actually cursed each other out face to face, and I happen to be talking to somebody, and I said something. That's even my brother Mike and my brother John and Mark got into it one time over behind the back texts to other family members, and I'm like, dude, here's something, and Drew, you might know this too. Pretty smart guy. All family members talk about each other to other family members behind their backs. All friends talk about each other. Did you see what fucking Billy did the other day? Did you see what that dude was wearing when he walked in there? That goes on all the fucking time. Are you out of your mind talking behind back? That's what texts are for. That's why private texts. Are you kidding me? My mother the other day gave me an earful about my brother's former wife's situation, ex-wife. Thinks she's going to call my mother. I heard you were talking behind my back to your son. That's my son. I'm talking to him about whatever I want to talk about. First of all, everything's behind the back when you're not privy to a conversation. And why would you be? We're talking about you. We don't want you to know. We're talking about like what we think is, either we can help you or how fucked up you are. And I'm sure I'm part of those conversations behind my back. You don't think my mother probably gets off the phone and then talks about me to my brother Joe? That goes on all the time. So I always think it's funny when someone's like, you talk to Mary, but I'm like, friends do that to each other. Are you kidding me? Someone will like text, Did you see what that dude was wearing at that show the other night? And that's our boy. You know what I mean? That's our boy. We're not like plotting a evil plan against him. We just were talking shop, and that goes on with all of us. We're all the subject of conversation. But if all of us knew, Drew, what our families and friends said behind our backs or when we weren't around, nobody would talk to anybody anymore. You know what I mean? There'd be nothing. There'd be no relationship. Husband and wife. You don't think a wife gets with her girlfriend's, my fucking husband's getting on my fucking nerves. Oh my God, you said I was getting on your nerves to Jane? That's so that's so underhanded. No, it's not. It's common. It's common. It's called venting, by the way. It's called venting. You know? You don't think, Drew, when I get off this podcast, I'm going to go tell Jason Solomonster about you?
I'm pretty sure it'll be like, first of all, who the fuck is Drew Yari?
Everyone knows Drew Yari. Everyone knows Drew Yari. You're selling yourself short.
But I don't know. But yeah, you're right. I mean, because everybody talks about each other. Because, you know, my girl, she'll talk about her cousin when her cousin's not around. I mean, not always positive, not always negative, but, you know.
And does that make you hate her cousin any more or less? It just makes you kind of, oh, okay. But you know, if a cousin treats you okay, you will treat her, well, she's cool to me. You know, like that's what I'm talking about. You know. Yeah,
it is what it is because, you know, it's one of those things. It's just, you know, human life. You know, or, you know, for example, you know, there's two people I know that are brothers. You know, one of them is my friend, and, you know, I used to hang out with the other one. And, you know, when I'd hang out with them separately, I'd always get, man, Anthony's pissing me off. You know, he's doing A, B, C, and D. And I'm not trying to, you know, portray him in a negative light, but, you know, I'm just telling you what's going on. Or I'll be hanging out with Anthony, I'll be like, man, Andre's really pissing me off. He's doing A, B, C, and D, and, you know, he's really getting on my nerves, blah, blah, blah. It's just human life. You know, people talk. You know, whether it's negative or positive, people just talk. That's just... It's human life. Like, who else are you going to talk to? Because you could easily just tell the person what you think, but it's almost like a double-edged sword, because you can't, okay, let's say you and John are having problems. And, you know, John walks into the room and be like, you know what, John, I don't like A, B, C, and D. I don't like when you talk about this. This really bothers me, blah, blah, blah. And you get your shit together. And then the very next day, you walk into the room and John goes, you know, Kevin, I don't like your hat, you know, A, B, C, and D. You know. Oh,
and we've gotten into me and John have had not even falling outs. We've gone at it over the years.
I wouldn't doubt that. But then it becomes like a thing of like, do you guys always have to be constantly honest and upfront every second of every day? Like some things you just want to keep to yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you see your friend, you know, with a new hairstyle that you think looks like shit, but you just go, okay, you know, it looks nice. As soon as she walks out of the room, you're like, Jesus, what, blue? She changed your hair to blue? Like, what the fuck? So
yeah. I mean, again, it's all of us. It's part of the culture, and quite honestly, Drew, even if there wasn't social media and you could talk on chat or private chat and messenger and stuff, and so much for private when people show it to people, you would have done it the old-fashioned way, having coffee at the house, and that other person's not, well, that couple is not there, and then you're there with your girlfriend, and your friend's there with their boyfriend, but couple A, B, and C isn't there, and you're like, yeah, you know, Pete and Phyllis, God, they're having problems. Like, I noticed they're kind of glad they're not here tonight. They argue all the time. Then you're talking behind my back. I'm like, yeah, we're trying to figure out what's going on with you guys, why you're not even here. So it's like, sorry, you know, it's like, oh, I'm never, you know, that whole thing of talking behind backs. When people aren't around, you're having a conversation. It goes on constantly. I don't even think people even know the hypocrisy of saying that, because they probably did it themselves that day. Hey, where's your assistant? Hey, where's your partner? Didn't come into work today. Nah, this fucking guy, he's driving me crazy. Like, oh yeah, he's out again today. He's sick or whatever. He was sick 2 weeks ago, and you know, now is that person going to go back and go, hey Frank, you know, Dave was saying complaining how you're being sick. What are you telling Steve that I'm saying? And it's like, we're talking. That's what people do. It's like everyone's just, again, the hypocrisy of that is just so ridiculous, because everybody does that. Everybody does that. Guys are almost as bad as girls doing that. My mom right now is having a conversation with one of my brothers about her sister-in-law, my Aunt Annette, my Aunt Stephanie, my Uncle Joe, guaranteed. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like terrible, but some criticism of them somewhere. You know, it's almost good Corona Thanksgiving because your aunt didn't even broach the subject. Even if we were allowed to have Thanksgiving, it's already a week to go. I didn't even hear from her. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, Ma, you trashing Antoinette? It's like, no, I'm venting because I haven't talked to her and I don't even know what she's doing. You're asking me what her plans are. I haven't even heard from the woman. So again, we all do that. We all do that, you know? And not for nothing, I feel very confident in saying this. Anything I say behind backs, I would gladly say to faces. I would say, yeah, I was bitching that you didn't call me for 3 weeks. So it's like, you could have said that to me. I'm like, I did, and you still didn't call me.
I think when
I did complain, and it went on deaf ears. It fell on deaf ears.
I think when it becomes a thing of like you have to bring it to their attention, then yeah, like especially when, you know, I've noticed this when people are drunk, they're going to tell you what's on their mind. They might even be a little bit too honest, but you know, hey, you know, just it is what it is. You know, it definitely goes on in my family. You know, because I'll have to hear from my mom, hey, so-and-so said you did this, or so-and-so was saying this about you. I don't even ask what they said. I'm like, I think I have a good inclination of what they were saying. I mean, and then I'll go to my brother. I'm like, hey, why were you saying that I was saying this, and that about you? Why'd you go whine to Mom about it? You're supposed to be the older brother. You're supposed to like be up front with me.
We all do that, yeah.
So it's just it's just like I agree with it to a certain extent, but then when it becomes like a thing of like that could have been something you could have easily confronted me about. Like even when it's not true, why would you go whine to somebody and act like it is true? And why do I need to hear it from that person? You know what I mean?
That's human nature, absolutely human nature. When you feel you want to, again, it's venting, it's, you know, getting an opinion on somebody about something, and to make, also remember, people also do a test pattern with other people to run it by them and see if they agree with that person. It almost gives them a sense of righteousness. It gives them a sense of, oh, I'm right. You know, Steve has been acting like a fool lately. He pissed you off too? Oh yeah, Steve was disrespectful to me the other day, so that's interesting that he did that, young up on you. And you'd be like, oh, okay. It's almost like, that's safety in numbers, but it's almost like, am I the only person who has a problem with this guy or girl? Like, is it me? And some people actually, when they are telling a story or something, or telling tales out of school about somebody, they're trying to test this person might know. He can maybe give me this. Mom would know that my brother is maybe acting a fool lately, and why. Oh, your brother got laid off of work. That's why he's acting crazy. Oh, I didn't even know that, Mom. Okay. You know what I mean? So it's like something like that. Like, you know, why is such and such being so high strung? He's having problems with his wife. Or her boyfriend broke up with her. So, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes when you get intel, when you tell somebody else, and maybe it actually can make the situation better. It's not always to go and joke on that person and clown them and make fun of them behind their backs. Sometimes, you know, you're talking to someone who knows that other person, and you're saying, hey, you know, this thing happened between me and such the other day. Here's what happened. What do you think? And then, you know, especially if it's a mom or a brother or a big brother or an aunt or something, it's like, well, you know, I know that, she got laid off, so that could be part of her whole thing of why she's being bitchy to everybody lately. And then you're like, oh, okay, so it's not just me. Okay, gotcha. So again, there's certain things to take into consideration. I think everyone always wants to think the worst of each other, that then they can get in their whole thing. I don't trust anybody. This is why I have very few friends. This is why I prefer pets to people. I've done that myself, where I'm like, this is why I prefer cats to even human beings, because, you know, at least they're loyal and stuff. But it's hypocrisy, because we all do the same thing to each other. We just didn't do it at that moment. But if we rack our brains and go back and take a good look at ourselves, like, oh yeah, last week I was kind of trashing my cousin. I did the same thing. So, you know what I mean? My brother John brings it up all the time. Hypocrisy.
Yeah, there's so much of that. And that's just, to me, that's a pet peeve. Like, I get so turned off by hypocrisy when, you know, hypocrisy, you know, is kind of like, you know, one and the same with people who are just very two-faced. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and I'll, I'll talk about my current job, and I won't name names, but I mean, because my job doesn't listen to the show, but just you never know who's listening.
Sure.
Like, there's this one girl at work who, of all the people that I've worked, because I work at this job currently for over a year and 2 months.
Okay.
And there's only this one person I talk to, and it's just, this girl. And again, it's not like that, because even if I wanted to, even if I was single, she's not my type. So I'll just put it that way. But, we would talk because we kind of have the same things in common, and she would talk to me, and I'm not a very social person. I'm just going to put it that way. I don't go out of my way to be very friendly to people.
Mm-hmm.
And by that, I don't mean like if you didn't know me, you said, "Hey, Drew, how you doing?" Go fuck yourself. Like I wouldn't say something like that. I would say, "Hey, how you doing?" I'd say, "Hey, how you doing?" But I'm not a very overly social person. I'm friendly to a degree, but I'm not overly social. So, recently, we had a thing in our work called a schedule realignment where we had to re-sign up, for our days that, we had or the days that we wanted. And, I used to be off Wednesdays and Thursdays, but I got those days, someone took those days, and I had to, work Tuesdays and Wednesdays on my shift, which is why I moved the show back to Wednesdays and, doing live. And she's the one that took my days. And at first I was, I'm still pissed about it. At first I was pissed. I wasn't trying to think too much of it, but I told my girl about it, and she just she already doesn't like her, just mainly for that. And the thing about my girl was that whenever she has an instinct about someone, she's usually never wrong.
Yeah.
Like if she says, I'm not a fan of that person, I don't like them, and in the end, you realize why she was right, it's like, okay. So this is how this person is, this particular person I'm working with. She's very much, kind of two-faced. Like she pretends that she's nice to your face, but for all I don't know. Maybe she is saying shit about me behind my back, but she only pretended to be nice to me. Like she pretends that she acts like she's my friend, and then that happens. It's just, I know it's maybe minuscule compared to what other people have been through, but it's just like, you knew those are my fucking days. Like I even told you to your face, yeah, I'm gonna stick with those days. Those are my days, and then you take them anyway. You know what I mean? It's almost like hey Kev, that girl, she's really pretty. I like her. I think I'm gonna ask her out. And then after first period, I already see you making out with her. It's like, dude, I told you I was gonna ask her out. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Oh, and boys do that to each other all the time.
Oh yeah. So it very much is a kind of a backstabby, two-faced thing, for someone to do something like that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's definitely, I mean, again, everybody goes through all this stuff, man. It's everything we talked about today, I think, would register. I mean, it was life talk instead of wrestling talk, which sometimes people even want to hear. There's more than enough wrestling talk, but that's why I like these podcasts. It's kind of, everybody can relate to it. I think everybody can relate to it. I've yet to meet the person yet who says, I have none of that in my life. I've never had an argument. I've never had anybody talk behind my back. I've never trashed anybody behind their back. I have all my texts. As a matter of fact, everything has a smiley face and a heart on it. I have no sad emojis or angry faces. You'd be lying. And there's no such thing. And even the pretty, beautiful people have their horrible days where people are mean to them, and everyone, from celebrities to homeless man on the street, all have our shining bright spots of life and our days where we think we're just about done, and ready to check out. We've all been despondent and depressed, and we've all been happy and elated. That's the one thing we all have in common. When politicians say we're all in this together, I'll probably like to wrap up on this for me. It's true. As human beings, we're all in this life together as far as emotions and feelings and how we deal with things and in our daily lives. I mean, my problems are no more important than yours, but they're important to me and my family because it's me. And the same thing for you. Of course you're the most important guy in the room when something bad or good is happening because it's you. You're supposed to have self-value and self-worth. But you're not supposed to be dismissive of other people's plights and things that are happening to them. You could be both. You could be all things to all people if you want to be. People like, oh, I have no time to care about that. You ever hear that expression, Drew? I have no time for that.
Right.
What does that even mean? You have no time to care about your brother is in the hospital? That's a weird thing to say. Well, I got my own problems. Right. And you'll have your own problems tomorrow, whether it's John was in the ICU or what. That doesn't change. You can care. You could still say you care. It doesn't, again, it's the bravado that I think people have where they are dismissive of other people because they think it's like tough guy. I only care about this. I'm the lone wolf. And yeah, that's no way to live life. It's much better to have people care about you. Watching TV and using catchphrases from movies and thinking you're a tough guy or a tough girl and making like you don't need anybody. Everybody needs somebody. Everybody needs somebody. Most pathetic thing to happen to anybody in life, Drew, you want to know what the most pathetic, horrible thing that no one should wish on anybody is to die alone, right? Die by yourself. Die by yourself in an apartment where no one even knows your body's there for days because you don't interact and you don't have close friends and you don't estrange yourself from your family and people, your landlord discovered you. That's the saddest thing. That's what life has come to. That's the worst thing that could happen to you is being alone because you isolated yourself because you always were so afraid of getting hurt or that no one was a perfect friend to you or you couldn't find the perfect person in life that would never stray from the path that's it. I'm all to myself. It's all about me. You're going to die alone. That's the worst thing that can happen to you. I think, you always hear people pass away with the family surrounded and holding their hands, same like my dad, saying prayers. My brother Mark was there. Flew in from Florida, just made it before my father passed. That's what life comes to. You enter the world with people, you give birth in the happy father in the waiting room and the family and the old school back in 1968 when I was born, that's the way it was. But even modern day, the father's so involved in the birth of the kid and the happiest day. And the sad day is when your last day, but then again, people around you might be in a hospital when you're born, most likely in a hospital when you die. Most people. Some people don't get to make that trip. They pass away in their home or, God forbid, die on the street or die on, like poor Road Warrior Animal died in a hotel on vacation. But he was with his wife. And his wife loved him. He was with him 35 years. So, again, you reap what you sow. And I think, to me, the one thing I'll say is even though I live by myself, I'm a private guy and I'm sometimes a reclusive guy, but I always keep touch with my friends and family. I'm on the phone constantly talking to people, and I go out. I went out with my friend James the other day. Hey, you want to go something to eat? Sure. I have a circle of people that I'm very comfortable around, and even during these COVID times, that I don't feel like they're at risk or I'm at risk. Because the isolation for COVID has really hurt a lot of people. I'm on the phone all the time with people like, dude, I'm going crazy in this fucking lockdown. And I said, listen, I'm there myself. I have my days, man. I have my days where I've torn up my schedule book for 2020 and thrown it on the fucking floor. I'm like, this is wipe my ass with this fucking book, all the shows, all the money I lost this year, and be just so frustrated about it. And then I'll go outside and I'll go around the corner to the cat colony over here in my hood and that I've been involved with since 2007. I almost exclusively take care of at this point anymore. There used to be another girl who fed them. Now I'm all my own because she probably abandoned ship over this COVID stuff because of monetarily she couldn't afford to feed them anymore. I haven't seen her in a long time, so it's all on me. And but that gives me my peace and my solace, like doing that. And you find something that gives you. You talked about it before. You game, you do things with video games. Find something that gives you that solace and peace. That, as much as it's a burden for me to do that, it's a joy for me too, in a way, because they'll come up to me and they'll jump on me and I get to pet them and see how they're doing and check on them, make sure this one's got an eye infection, this one, get them help if they need it, check everybody is alive and accounted for. It's a good day today. Everybody's here. I've seen them all. And that's something that has helped me get through COVID during this time, because it's not over and this is going to continue. And me and you I might come back and say, well, guess what, Drew? You know, I'm sure you saw it in the news. New York is locked down again for the next 2 weeks, and here we go again. I mean, you live in a state that I don't think they're going to do that. I think the Northeast is going to be more affected than out by where you are. I mean, it could happen. I don't see a countrywide lockdown. That I don't see. That's never going to happen because the governors and mayors will have to be in on stuff. And the president, even Joe Biden, can't come in and go, you know, January is official lockdown month. You can't do that. It's not going to happen. And no president's going to do that anyway. It's just all talk. But during this time, some people gotten close to their families. Some people got estranged from their families because they got on their nerves. The divorce rate is very high. I know a couple of people, by the way, who are splitting up after this COVID thing is over. They are done with forget. They're only staying together now because of COVID. When it's over, I have 2 friends who are moving out of their house. They are done, husband and wife. They're done with each other. And because they learned to realize that they were not meant for the long haul. Being together this long, it just got really bad. And some people got closer. Some romances have blossomed between some of my friends who had just been seeing each other and then got, you know, realized that it meant to be together. So a lot of good things and bad things have happened during COVID. For me, you know, there's been a lot of negativity. The only, positive thing is I'm alive here and I'm able to be on your show. I'm able to be on your show. And, you know, my brother John is texting me as I'm talking to you that Joe Rogan got Dave Chappelle to go on the show.
Oh, tell him I said hi.
Yeah, I'll tell him you said hi when I said so. Because I got to go, but because I got to go feed the cats at 4:00.
Okay.
And then I got to get the information from DT for the show tonight to go over the questions in case I got to research any of them. So yeah, I mean, again, like I said, even going to do now, I can go around the corner and something bad could be there for me. But again, you know, it's usually, thank God, you know, it's been positive lately. But that's my peace. That's where I get my peace, and I get my peace from doing stuff like this, podcasts, guesting on my friends' shows like this and other shows that I've been on, and doing my own thing on for the Patreons on Thursday. Big important thing in my life. And believe me, if it was gone or it wasn't there, I would not only I would miss it, I think it would really hurt me. Like just not fiscally, but internally, like just almost like emotionally, it'd be like another crippling blow. I told you before the podcast when we started recording, it's like, how much is any person supposed to take? Not just me, you, anybody. I mean, you keep piling shit on top of people. I mean, you expect them to come out of it clean and unscathed. You know, I like the Rocky quote. It's not how many times you get hit; it's about how many times you get up. But that's all well and good. But I think sometimes it's okay to just have a day where you're just bumming. And then the next day, you're okay. Even like I told you, I got to make that phone call. I was supposed to make it today, but I'll probably make it tomorrow. Both of those calls that I have to make, one to my friend's son and the other to that boss from that club. I'm going to do it tomorrow because today I just want to, you know, after I go feed these guys and have other things I have to do around the house and then have dinner and then prepare for my show tonight. You know, tomorrow is it's not a day off. It's almost a ridiculous thing to say. But tomorrow I'm going to get in that game. I'm going to get in that like almost like game zone, like frame of mind where, okay, I'm ready for my challenges today. These calls, let's see how they go. And it's also dictated by the other person. Like even today on the show, if you're having a miserable day and you set a tone of like, okay, I just want to get this over with. Fuck it. I don't care about what we talk about. That sets the tone. But if you say, hey, let's just shoot the shit, talk life. That's what we did. We had a nice podcast. We talked about it. Some people I kind of was looking forward to wrestling. Well, there's other wrestling stuff that you can hear with other podcasts and other episodes that you're going to do.
Yeah, because God knows we would love to just brag on AEW, but it's just
I want to, you know, and that was a real offer, by the way, that I put on Twitter. I won't say who said it, but it was a podcast. It was like, what do you think about doing like a round table, you, me, and maybe 2 other guys, where it's just anti-AEW and it's just our shtick? And I said, you'd be perfect for that, Kevin. I'm like, yeah, I would, but you know, it's funny. I hate AEW more in theory than anything else because I'm just not. It's not being because it's the opposing of WWF. Again, back in the day, world class NWA territories. I love them all. I didn't have to be team Homer, team WWE, but as a New Yorker guy in MSG and going there, and what got me into wrestling, and Bob Backlund and Vince McMahon and his old announcing days and Vince Sr., that's what got me into wrestling. So, of course, I never abandoned my team, so to speak. Of course, I'm born and raised on WWE, just like a Met fan or a Jet fan. I'm a lifer, man. I'm a lifer. It's not going to change. It's not going to switch over to AEW. I don't even know what that means. I don't switch teams. That's like saying don't be a Scandato anymore. Be a fucking Mancini. I'm like, but I'm a Scandato. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Like
I'm already embedded. Be a Yari. Like I'm already embedded. I could be friends and be Team Drew or Team some other family by proxy of being an associate of theirs. But I got my team and I'm happy with it. And granted, WWE does not always make me happy. It pisses me off a lot of times, but I'll get over it and I will be watching Survivor Series on Sunday like everybody else. No chance I'm missing Survivor Series. And I look forward to it, and even if it's subpar and it's not that great, and then all the reviews come in and everyone's kind of shitting on, maybe it's going to be great. We never know. Great thing about wrestling is you never really know until you watch the pay-per-view. And some things were happy surprises this year, and some things sucked in both companies. But I love wrestling overall. And again, I like Thunder Rosa, I like Penelope Ford, I like certain people. So I'll never fully not like AEW. It's, I just don't like a lot of their top stars. I'm just not a fan of. I was never a big Dean Ambrose guy, never a Jon Moxley guy. It's not my guy. I was never a Cody guy, even when he was here as a mid-carder in WWE for 8 years. I was never into him. I'm into his dad. I'm a big Dusty Rhodes fan. Love Dusty Rhodes, especially NWA Dusty Rhodes. Never really connected to Dustin Rhodes or Cody. It's not my thing. Some people go, I was never really a Von Erich fan. Okay, they didn't connect for you. That's fine. But again, it's choices. It's choices. Kev, you're a big Tully Blanchard fan? Nah, never liked them. What? Why, you were? You connected to Tully Blanchard? I connected to Ultimate Warrior because he had long hair and was into heavy metal at the same time I was when I was 16. So of course I connected to Ultimate Warrior. Heavy guitar riffs and frenetic energy and long hair and fucking Diesel. Of course, that's the guy's posters on my wall. Why the fuck would I have a Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson poster on my wall? A receding hair guy and a comb over guy? I'm 16. Why do I want a picture of my father on the wall? You know what I'm saying? So again, I was laughing. People go, I was into Tully and Arn. I'm like, I was into Ultimate Warrior and fucking Macho Man. Like, I don't know. Really? Arn Anderson was on your wall? Really? Didn't girls go in your room and go, who's this old man on your wall? Oh, because Arn looked 55 when he was 30. You know what I mean?
It's like, why do you have a poster of your uncle on the wall?
Exactly.
Like, that's a wrestler. Really?
Yeah. I was into cool Four Horsemen. I'm like, dude, not for nothing. They look like a bunch of country bumpkins to me in suits. I'm from New York. Why would I relate to Arn Anderson, like Georgia guys, Ole Anderson? Why would I relate to those guys? Ole Anderson? What would I have in common? I'm 16. That's why when I tell people, like, posters on walls that teenagers will have, I'm like, no girl who's 15 who's into wrestling and thinks the guy's as cute as a Chris Jericho. He's 50. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they have a poster of fucking Ricochet on their wall. So I'm like, you have to think, like, I don't know how people forget how old they were once upon a time. Once upon a time, pretend you're 13. And you're 13. Who looks like a superhero to you? Flippy Boy, Chuck and Billy, or whatever their names are, AEW, these horrendous tag teams, or Private Party? Or are you going to have a picture of fucking like Dave Bautista who's in Guardians of the Galaxy and in Marvel movies and you're obsessed with Marvel and superheroes? You can have a Batista poster on your wall. Again, I don't know whose kids are raising children. It's like, the best. These are Kenny Omega. What teenage boy is going to have a poster of Kenny Omega on his wall? Really? He looks like the most uncool guy in the room. Again, so that's why when you see Karrion Kross, a guy like that, if I'm 15 or 16, I'm into Karrion Kross and Scarlett, aren't you? If you're a teenage boy, right. You're into Kenny Omega, really? It's like, okay. Again, I put myself in a position of the fan and throw myself back how it was when I was a kid, and how I would feel. Would this poster be on my wall? Absolutely. So I kind of laugh at people, just like the Arn and Tully thing always cracks me up. I'm like, oh, back in '85, did you have a picture of? I'm like, no, I thought they were like old. I didn't like them at all. I hated them. I love when Dusty Rhodes and Nikita Koloff beat the shit out of them.
So I know you have to leave in a bit. Let me just ask you one more question. So, like, how did you relate to Dusty? Like, what about Dusty? Like, made you
he was funny, right? And I knew heavy set guys who were funny, and I never took it. Oh, he's fat. I can't be into him. He's not. And also the fact that me and Draper were always amazed that for a 310, 320-pound guy, the way he moved in the ring and those elbows and and he was never winded. Go back, and anybody listening to this who listens to this on the download, go back and watch Dusty Rhodes matches from the 80s. Show me when Dusty is sucking air and winded, where he's like, oh, see, he's got to lose weight. He's going to have a heart attack. Dusty has never had a heart attack. Dusty has been fine. You know, Dusty never had heart surgery. Isn't that amazing for an overweight guy like that? Because he was a guy almost like Kevin James. You know the actor Kevin James? Kevin James is a healthy fat, meaning that Kevin James can dunk a basketball. He's only 5'10", and he's on average about 270, 280.
Well, he was actually...
He was a wrestler. I know, with the Mick Foley thing. I'm from New York. I know all about his history, but the point being is, even when he was in Grown Ups 2, he ballooned up to 320. And even then, he was still playing ice hockey. He's a 320 guy on ice skates. And just, it's amazing. Some people have that constitution. Dusty Rhodes was another one who, it didn't matter if his waist went up to a 55, 56-inch waist. He was able to play basketball, softball. There's footage of Dusty hitting home runs in a softball league for the NWA and running around the bases, and his stomach is bouncing. But he's not winded. He's not like huffing and puffing. Oh, this guy's going to have a stroke. He was amazing. And it's amazing to me that for a guy, Dusty would go. Watch him against the Road Warriors. And that huge waistline he has, it didn't affect him whatsoever. Some people have that constitution. You know what I mean? And some people, if they put on 30 pounds, they can't even tie their shoes. They're huffing and puffing. Dusty was amazing. And me and my brother were just like, probably the only heavy-set guy with his shirt off that you don't feel embarrassed for him that he has his shirt off. You know, no, we never even thought anything of it. The only thing that freaked us out was that blotch on Dusty Rhodes' stomach, that big birthmark thing. But other than that, me and my brother used to say, why doesn't Dusty just wear something more flattering? He's wearing small trunks and he's so heavy. But it was fine. It was cool. There was nothing. And yeah, the girls say, who's this fat guy on your wall? I was like, that's Dusty Rhodes. It's like, who is he? I'm like, he's a wrestler. Oh, we got that all the time from girls or girlfriends coming up to our room. We're hanging out in our room. We shared a huge bedroom together, me and my brother John and my brother Mike. And people would be like, who's this guy? Like, you know, the polka dots. Like, Dusty Rhodes. And they're like, we would almost like make fun of them for making fun of Dusty. We would take his back and be like, this guy right now is a better athlete than any of your fucking ball players that you like. Oh, I doubt it. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, this guy can go. So we were impressed by his stamina for a heavy guy. And then it never hindered him. And dare I say, it didn't kill him in the end. He fell down steps, if you remember. Right. He didn't die from that. And again, Kevin James just reminds me of him. Kevin James is if you watch any Kevin James movies, he's so action-packed for a fat guy. John Candy didn't move like that. You know what I'm saying? So I guess it depends on your makeup. Some people, again, talk about this all the time. It's not one size fits all. No pun intended.
So I just had an idea before you go. Do you think Kevin James should play Dusty Rhodes in a movie?
Yeah, I think Kevin James would be a good Dusty Rhodes. Absolutely. He would be the guy to play Dusty Rhodes. I don't know if Kevin James is a big wrestling fan. I don't know if he is. I've never really seen him. I've watched a lot of Kevin James. I'm a big King of Queens fan. And I know of him, obviously. I know people who are actually related to him, being a Long Island native. And not that far off from my age. Kevin James and Mick Foley are 3 years older than me. So I was a freshman in high school when they were seniors. So we're in the same wheelhouse, age group. But I always hear about his, again, in high school, his accolades and people who have been to the club. There's, matter of fact, one of the guys who worked on Kevin Can Wait. You know, we had a show a couple of years ago called Kevin Can Wait. And his one of the co-stars was in a band that played for me, who played one of his friends who hung out in the pizzeria with him. It was only 2 seasons, that show. And Kevin was supposed to come down to the show, and we were all excited. And then Kevin sent a text, and he showed me the text from Kevin James, said, can't make it tonight. So sorry. Have a great set. And that was all he wrote. And I was like, he's not coming. Oh, man, it's too bad. But, yeah, the guy was on the show, co-star with him of the show. He was in a band that played for me. It was last summer. And we all thought Kevin James was coming down. Matter of fact, we texted even people who were off that night, girls and guys and coat check girl, because it was summer. We didn't need the coat check girl. So we're like, Kevin James is coming down there. Oh, I'll be down. I'll be there in a half hour. So everyone came down, and then the guy had to show us the text, which was from Kevin James, that he couldn't make it. So that was a bummer. So I almost got to meet him one time. So that was cool. But anyway, yeah, I got a jet, man. Thank you for having me on. Hopefully you'll stop by tonight if you can, or just dip in, say hello on
I'll be there.
Chronicles.
Yeah.
And I will catch you then. And thank you for. I'm sorry we had to re-record this, but I know shit happens. And again, I'm around long enough that I know sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. You know what I mean? So all good, man.
Yeah, man. Again, thank you for taking. Looks like was it 2 hours and 7 minutes out of your day?
Oh, there you go. See, I went
yeah,
longer than I thought.
yeah, to just come back on and just shoot the shit. And
No
we
problem.
really didn't even really talk about. We barely talked about wrestling, and it wasn't even about current wrestling stuff. Which I'm happy. I'm happy. And usually,
and also we got the Survivor Series. So again, if you want me to come back before the end of the year, I'll make another appearance on the show. Maybe do a year in review or something like that. We could do in late December. If you want me to, I'll gladly do that.
yeah, absolutely, we'll set something up, dude. And I always usually do my annual, I guess my own award show for the best and so. But
Sure.
I'll book you for that definitely. I need to talk to
Sounds
I need to talk to Mary, your agent. But
Oh, you called her by her real name. Yeah.
her shoot name. I'll have to edit that out. But
Okay. All right, man. I'll catch you soon, man, and I'll hopefully see you tonight in my show chat.
absolutely, take care, man.
All right, peace. Bye.
Peace. All right, so that's the end of the show, and again, props to Kevin for coming back. Good dude. I really do consider Kevin a friend, not just a good friend, family. I consider him family. I call him Uncle Kev. If you guys see that, I call him Uncle Kev. I call Draper Uncle Draper because I consider him family. Because they mean the world to me, and I hope they know that they mean the world to me. So, but anyways, this show definitely will go up. Knock on wood, and I'll post it on Friday or tomorrow actually. Kev, wants me to post a show on Friday. So again, I don't argue with Kev. So usually if Kev tells me to do something, I do it because he's Kevin Castle and he'll hurt me. I'm playing, but I'll post. The show will be posted tomorrow. So, anyways, guys, take care. Have a good day actually, and a good rest of the evening. And I'll be back next week for Survivor Series results. Take care, dude. Or take care, guys.
The Drew Yari Show.
It's Drew Yari. It's Drew Yari.
The Drew Yari Show.
It's Drew Yari. It's Drew Yari.
The Drew Yari Show.
It's Drew Yari.
The Drew Yari Show.
It's Drew Yari.
The Drew Yari Show.